I refuse to die without telling what I saw. I am reaching the end of my life, and the fear that kept me silent for 60 years is nothing compared to the fear of what comes next. They will say these are the delusions of an old man. They always do. But if I was able to lie to my own family for decades, imagine what a powerful government can do to an entire population. I barely understand how the internet works. My grandson showed me this place a few months ago. He said it was the best place to leave something behind. Well, I hope he was right. When I was selected to join Project Young Homeland, I couldn't contain my excitement. For a medical resident like me, being invited into something so secretive was beyond anything I could have imagined. It wasn't open to the public. It wasn't even acknowledged to exist. The secrecy made me feel important. It also kept me blind to the horror that I had stepped into. They told us we were helping our country fight communism, that we were protecting children from going down the wrong path. There was no greater honor than that. That was the lie that they sold us. The first days inside the facility were exactly what they promised. Medical exams, growth tracking, psychological assessments, educational videos, nothing outside my training. But even then, 2 fields on the medical forms caught my attention. They were filled out only by my superiors. Compensation applied, yes or no. Visible physical changes, followed by 3 empty lines. At the time, I didn't know what they meant. I would soon learn. The facility was completely isolated. Once you entered, you didn't leave. The non-disclosure agreements we signed were worse than anything you'd seen in a corporate job today. I'm almost certain one of the clauses authorized lethal force in case of information leaks, as if that were even possible. Despite all of that, I felt lucky to be there. I came from a military family. Opportunities like that didn't just go to anyone. One of the children told me I had a funny face, and that I looked like a rabbit. That name stuck, so everyone started calling me Dr. Rabbit. The children liked me. I was younger than most of the doctors and officers, and the isolation made them weary of adults. They weren't supposed to get attached to any of us, but they did anyway, especially the ones who had been there before I arrived. Their files were perfect. No illnesses, no fractures, healthy teeth. Most hadn't even started losing their baby teeth yet. We were told never to ask about their families. All documents said the same thing: orphans. Their routine was simple. They woke up at 7 a.m. The breakfast was milk and bread with butter. They were punished if they didn't finish the milk. They had lessons until noon, lunch followed by another glass of milk. Again, punishment if it wasn't finished. In the afternoon, they were allowed to play until 5 p.m. Then came dinner. After that, they were taken to the observation rooms. The nurses would run the nightly protocols and put them to sleep. I often noticed them checking something under the children's pillow before leaving. That's when our work began. We weren't allowed to see inside the rooms. We only had access to heart rate monitors and breathing sensors, courtesy of our American partners. Video recordings were reviewed later. The first week went by peacefully. The children were calm, responsive, and obedient. We were told everything was for the greater good. Things changed after the March of the Family with God for Liberty. We all knew that the President Golart was about to be overthrown. The project had started before the coup, so it felt normal to us. But there was nothing godly about what we really did, even less freedom. During the week of March 13th, a new group of children arrived. They were sedated, terrified. They weren't even allowed to speak their names. Soldiers beat them when they tried. We were instructed to mix a new compound into their morning milk and observe it if it would cause any visible side effects. To this day, I don't know what the compound was. The children said the milk tasted like chalk. The following week, Subject 147A was brought into my office. He complained about a toothache. He tried to smile at me, but avoided fully opening his mouth. He said I really did look like a rabbit, just not one with red eyes, like in the song. His baby teeth should have fallen out months earlier. None of them were loose. I wasn't able to examine him further. They only wanted to know if he was otherwise healthy. His vitals were normal. That night, they placed him in an observation room separated from the others and ordered me to stay on duty. By then, this wasn't the first time something felt wrong. He wasn't the first to complain of a toothache. None of us were comfortable anymore. By that time, we were less doctors and more like morticians, but we weren't allowed to leave. Subject 147A was when I realized something was truly broken. The test files started coming back with notes written by my superiors. Update protocol. Object archive. Compensation not applied. Almost all of the files belonged to the children who entered the isolated observance room and were never seen again. We were told they had been returned to their families. They were all orphans, weren't they? I signed the papers anyway. Any other person would do the same. I didn't sleep that night though. I remember 147A waking up. That wasn't supposed to happen. The room was sealed and dark, but I could hear him. His voice, shaking, calling for his mother. His heart rate spiked. His breathing turned erratic. A heavy hand on my shoulder stopped me from standing up. What could I have done anyway? The next morning, the file was on my desk. Compensation not applied. Compound effective. The phenomenon does not respond to containment. Medical integrity compromised. The field, visible physical changes, was filled in. I can't bring myself to repeat most of it, but one line still haunts me. Subject presents dual dental arches. That was the last time I saw 147A. My father managed to get me out that afternoon. He used connections high enough to make my resignation look like a family emergency. I never asked what it cost him, but I was too afraid to know. I was lucky. Very lucky. Or maybe the ones who stayed there were luckier. Because I still remember what we did there. The toothaches never stopped. The visible physical changes either. After that, no one watched the recordings anymore. None of us left that place whole. I spent the rest of my life trying to forget, but I never could. Now children are disappearing at an alarming rate, and I know why. Soon what we created will be turned into public health protocols by the right people. At least I hope. When that happens, follow them. Please. Don't let what happened to 147A happen again. I kept all my teeth. Every single one. They're under my pillow now. The taste of iron hasn't left my mouth. When this is posted, I'm going to lie down and sleep. Whatever is waiting for me is worse than death. But if I'm right, it will accept my offer. And maybe that will be enough. Hey everyone. If you enjoyed the narration, hit the like, sub to the channel, and leave a comment about what stories you'd like me to narrate. Also, if you are a writer, send me your stories to my email, and maybe you can see them featured on the channel. Have a good night.